Have you ever gotten a cold chill as you have a few drinks at your favorite bar? A feeling of unease for no apparent reason? Get comfortable. We are taking a trip to the Blue Ridge Mountains, specifically to the twisted cobblestone history of Asheville, North Carolina. It is a city known for its art, its beer, and its vibrant culture. But like any place with history deep enough to have roots, it has a shadow side. A side that wakes up when the tourists go to sleep. Tonight, we are focusing on one specific building, a cornerstone of the city, a place where the living come to feast, and the dead, well, the dead seem to come to watch. We are talking about the Hayes and Hobson building, better known today as Pax Tavern. If you walk down South Spruce Street, right off the historic Pax Square, you see a beautiful brick building. It looks welcoming. It smells of wood-fired pizza and craft spirits. But if you talk to the people who work there after closing, or the locals who know the lore, the atmosphere changes. They will tell you that the brick and mortar of this building hold on to memories that simply refuse to fade. To understand the hauntings of Pax Tavern, we cannot just look at the building. We have to look at the dirt it sits on. Because in the world of the paranormal, the land remembers everything. Pax Square hasn't always been a park for festivals and music. Go back 150 years, or even longer. This was the center of activity for the entire region. But activity wasn't always positive. This square was the end of the line for the Boomkin Turnpike. It was a place of commerce, yes, but also a place of judgment. For generations, this area was the site of the county jail and the stocks. It was where public whippings took place. And darker still, it was the site of the gallows. Just imagine the energy soaked into that soil. Fear, despair, the final desperate prayers of the condemned. When you build a foundation on top of ground that has tasted that much sorrow, you don't just get a basement. You get a container for the supernatural. The building itself, the one we see today, rose up in 1907. It was originally the Hayes and Hobson building, the supply company. It dealt in lumber, coal, and building materials. It was a place of hard labor, sweat, and the rough and tumble commerce of the early 20th century. But the real catalyst for the haunting activity, the fuel that lit the fire, likely arrived a few years later. The Prohibition era. Asheville has a fascinating relationship with Prohibition. Even before it was federal law, North Carolina was dry. But being dry on paper and being dry in practice are two very different things. This is where the legend of Pax Tavern takes a turn into the underground, literally. Beneath the streets of Asheville, there is a labyrinth. Forgotten tunnels, bricked-up passageways, and hidden basements. During the 1920s, these weren't just dark holes in the ground. They were the arteries of the city's vice: bootlegging, illegal liquor transport, speakeasies. Pax Tavern sits right on top of this history. It is widely believed that the building was a central hub for the distribution of moonshine. The trucks would roll in under the guise of delivering lumber or coal, but hidden beneath the supplies were jars of white lightning from the mountain stills. This era was violent, it was fast, and it was dangerous. Deals went bad. People disappeared. And when you are dealing with illegal activities in dark tunnels, silence is the only currency that matters. It is from this era that many believe the spirits of Pax Tavern originate. Let's talk about the most famous resident. She doesn't appear on the payroll, but she has been seen by more staff members than most managers. They call her the Lady in White. The stories about her are consistent, which is always a sign of a genuine haunting. She is usually seen on the second floor or near the staircase. She is young, beautiful, and wears a long, flowing white dress that looks like it belongs in the early 1900s. But she isn't a scary, screaming banshee. Her energy is described as wistful, sad, waiting. One night, a manager was closing up. The music was off. The lights were dimmed. The heavy wooden doors were locked. As he walked through the dining area, he felt that primitive instinct, the hair on the back of his neck standing up. He knew with absolute certainty he was not alone. He looked up toward the mezzanine, and there she was. A woman in white, leaning over the railing, looking down at the empty tables. He blinked, thinking it was a trick of the light, or perhaps a tired server playing a prank. But when he looked again, she hadn't vanished in a flash. She simply faded, like mist burning off in the morning sun. Who is she? No one knows for sure. Some local historians speculate she was the lover of a bootlegger, a woman who came to the supply building to meet her secret partner, only to meet a tragic end. Others whisper that she might have been a working girl from the rougher days of the square, whose life was cut short in a dispute over money or jealousy. There's a tragic romance to her presence. She never threatens anyone. She just watches. Perhaps she is waiting for someone who never came back from a run in the tunnels. But the lady in white isn't the only thing walking the floorboards. If the upstairs belongs to the sad and the beautiful, the main bar and the kitchen belong to the mischievous. Bartenders at PAX are tough. You have to be to work in a high-volume place like that. But even the toughest barkeep gets rattled when the laws of physics stop working. There is a male energy in the tavern. A distinct, heavy, masculine presence that likes to make itself known when the staff is busy. This isn't a ghost that moans in the corner. This is a ghost that wants to participate. There are dozens of accounts of the prankster. One bartender tells a story of washing glasses. He set a clean pint glass on the drying rack, turned around to grab another, and heard a slide and a crash. The glass hadn't fallen off the edge. It had slid, with force, across the counter and shattered on the floor. On another night, the beer taps, the handles you pull to pour beer, snapped open on their own. Precious beer poured onto the floor until a terrified staff member ran over to snap them shut. It's almost as if the old workers from the Hayes and Hobson days are still there, trying to move inventory. Or perhaps the old bootleggers are angry that the liquor is being sold so openly now. And then there are the voices. Imagine being the first person in the building in the morning. The sun is just coming up. The city is quiet. You unlock the front door, disarm the alarm, and step into the silent tavern. You walk toward the kitchen to start the prep, and you hear it. A conversation. Not a mumble, but distinct chatter. It sounds like a busy Friday night. You hear the clink of glasses, the murmur of a crowd, a sudden burst of laughter. You freeze. You think, did someone leave the radio on? Did a homeless person break in? You round the corner into the dining room, ready to confront an intruder. And the noise stops instantly. It doesn't fade out. It is cut like a wire was snipped. The room is empty. The dust motes are dancing in the sunlight. There is absolutely no one there. This is a phenomenon known as residual haunting. It's the idea that high-energy events, parties, fights, moments of intense emotion imprint themselves on the atmosphere. The building is like a tape recorder, playing back scenes from the past when the conditions are right. Considering the wild history of Pack Square, the tavern is likely playing back a century of noise. But we have to go deeper. We have to talk about the basement. In almost every haunted location, the basement is the heart of the darkness. At Pack's Tavern, this is especially true. Remember those tunnels I mentioned? The Prohibition smuggling routes? They connect here. The basement of Pack's Tavern is where the wood-fired oven is, and it's where a lot of storage happens. But staff hate going down there alone. The air in the basement is different. It's heavy, thick. It feels like walking through water. There was a chef who worked there a few years ago. A skeptic, a no-nonsense guy who laughed at the ghost stories. One evening, he was alone in the prep area downstairs. He was chopping vegetables facing the wall. Suddenly, he felt a firm hand place itself on his shoulder. Not a brush, not a draft, a hand. He assumed it was a server coming to ask for something, so he said, "Just a second." The hand squeezed his shoulder hard. He turned around, knife in hand, ready to scold the person for sneaking up on him. The room was empty. The only way out was the stairs, and no one was on them. He was entirely alone in the basement. He left his knife on the cutting board, walked upstairs, and refused to go back down alone for the rest of his employment. That physical touch is rare, but it happens. Other staff members have reported feeling like they were walked through. You know the sensation, a sudden, intense blast of freezing cold air that hits you in the chest and passes out your back, leaving you shivering and nauseous, even in the middle of summer. So what is happening at Pax Tavern? Why is this specific corner of Asheville so active? It could be the materials. The building is made of brick and wood. Organic materials that some paranormal researchers believe can hold on to energy better than modern steel and glass. It could be the location. Sitting adjacent to the old courthouse, the old jail, and the site of public executions, the tavern sits on a crossroads of human misery and judgment. Or perhaps it is simply that the party never ended. Think about what a tavern is. It is a place of emotion. People come here to celebrate engagements, to mourn losses, to meet lovers, to drown sorrows. For over 100 years, this plot of land has been a sponge for the human experience. If you go to Pax Tavern today, you'll find a bustling, happy place. The food is great, the beer is cold, and the atmosphere is warm. But the next time you are there, take a moment. Maybe step away from the noise of the bar. Walk toward the back, near the old staircase. Or go into the restroom and listen to the silence. Pay attention to the corners of your vision. Did that shadow just move? Did the temperature just drop 10 degrees? Is that the faint smell of old-fashioned rose perfume mixing with the scent of pizza? The ghosts of Pax Tavern aren't malicious. They are memories. They are the lady in white waiting for her love. They are the mischievous bootleggers protecting their stash. They are the echoes of a city that has seen war, prohibition, boom, and bust. They are the permanent regulars. So if you visit Asheville, by all means stop by. Raise a glass. But maybe, just maybe, pour a little bit out for the ones who are watching you from the shadows. Because at Pax Tavern, you are never truly drinking alone. Hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys into the world's most haunted places. Till next time, stay curious.